Well, hello, hello, and good morning. We are so excited to join you again. Hopefully, you've already had a full session of AI awakening this morning. If it's still morning for you, actually, it's probably still morning. Well, maybe not morning for everybody. Out on the Atlantic zone, you might be in a different time by now. We are so excited to join you this morning for Wayfinding with AI in the age of AI. Bailey, tell us about you.
Nice. Maybe while I'm telling people about me, they can tell me about them in the chat. I'm
Yes.
Bailey Omberg. I work as a literacy coordinator in a really tiny district in the southeast of Alberta. And my job there is just supporting teachers. It's my very favorite thing in the whole wide world, other than reading with teenagers, which was my gig before I started this one. I also do lots of educational tech stuff with Logic Academy, and it's something that really fills my cup, and I'm really, really happy to be here with you all today to talk about ed tech. I'm joining you from Treaty 6, which is in the northern part of Alberta. Treaty 6 is the traditional traveling route, gathering place, and meeting grounds for the Nahaya, the Denisalune, the Siksikapi, the Nakota Sioux, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Métis Otipemisiwak, and this one is, I'm still learning the pronunciation, Isikisimu Nunanat, whose then the histories of these people still influence us today. And I'm so happy to be able to have relations with the people from these communities and learn from them and carry forward in Canada in a good way.
So Bailey and I are like the Logic's twins a little bit. Our
We
school
are.
districts actually border each other. Bailey's above me. We are both coming to you from snowy Alberta this morning. We have Michelle there from snowy Calgary. Our
Yes.
boards are both rural. Mine is geographically larger than Bailey's, but very similar in so many ways. Our current roles are similar. We both work as educational coaches and consultants around technology and literacy. And before that, we were both language arts and social studies teachers. And so we are
Yeah.
like the Alberta clone twins. Whitney, we have had snow constantly for like 2 days now. So we are coming to you from snowy Alberta.
Yes, Snowy is right. And yes, not only is Cami my twin, she's also the person I call in a panic every so often. So I do appreciate you, Cami, for that. I'm here today with Logix. Logix is this fabulous group of educators who are super driven to making sure that students in our schools and in our communities get access to just the best of the best when it comes to technology, to robotics, and to training. We're super, super proud to be part of here with Logix. Logix is partnered with basically all the good ones: Minecraft, the Google Cloud, Microsoft Education, and Apple Education. I would really recommend you check out all of these products you can buy. Also, I've purchased a suite of robots for our schools, and I can say that the team at Logix that supports the purchasing is also extremely fabulous and is able to help you with the learning part as well. Let's see here. I wanted to talk about CS Ed Week, which is coming up so quickly. And Logic has co-taught lessons happening every day, twice a day during CES Ed Week. So those are happening live. There are signature co-taught lessons where we can take over the teaching bit and you can be our assistant for a little bit. They're fabulous. There's a huge array. The one I'm most excited for is the tomato sphere. I love tomato sphere, and there's a new biome. Oh, it's not a biome. There's a new world in Minecraft all about the tomato sphere and how that fits with the scientific method. That session is going to be fabulous, and we have some teachers doing it.
I
Cami,
was
do you
going
have
to ask
something to
if
say
you've had
about that?
teachers who've had tomato seeds.
Yeah, I love the tomato seeds. The tomato sphere is the one where the tomato seeds have gone to space.
Yes.
So it's a super cool experiment, and that's really great hands-on way to do science. So check out our CSED events. They're going to be fabulous. And also I'd like to thank Microsoft for funding the event. Really, they're just putting their support behind us today to make sure that we can all to deepen our learning and our understanding. So I'm not talking specifically about a Microsoft tool this morning, but I do appreciate them for supporting me in not talking specifically about Microsoft. So thanks, Microsoft. Okay. Now, wayfinding in the age of AI. I promise you it's not going to hurt my feelings. This maybe is a little bit of a non-typical session for a summit like this. I'm not going to do demoing today. What I am going to demo or model for you is some thinking that I've done with my colleagues around AI and where we're going with it. Just as some background, I'm currently doing my master's studies, so I've been living in this like thoughtful kind of critical world a lot, and I've found that the like hands-on demoing stuff has taken the backseat for me. So it would be weird if I was showing you prompting because that's not the world that I'm living in right now. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to bring to you, it was definitely something about where we're heading and how we're getting there. So I'd like to break my time with you today into two sections. First one is just exploring where we're at and how we're living here. And this is where we'll get into the values-based part of what we're doing in education. The second part is where I would really love to hear your reflections in the chat about what you're seeing from your perspective. And I'm going to introduce a tool to you called the 3 Horizon Framework that hopefully can help you do some thinking about the path ahead of you. I'm happy to see that Whitney's a leader as well. I think this will be helpful for leaders to guide their staff, but I also think it's going to be helpful for teachers as they chart their path. So we'll keep it grounded in reality, but there is a little bit of reflection and thinking. And if that's just not what you're looking for today, I'm absolutely not going to have my feelings hurt if you choose a different session, but just know we're doing some reflecting. So the hype around AI. I, in my career, haven't seen hype like this ever. I think maybe the closest we got was the shift to like smart boards and smart technology, where we could really put learning in the hands of kids and make things more interactive, and that was really exciting. Everybody was learning about it. They were in every classroom, but the cap on those, the time it took us to get to feeling productive and feeling confident about them wasn't that long, really. There's probably still people who feel like they're most productive with their smart boards.
Haley,
and I know, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you are talking about that, watching that come in as a student, though. Are you not? Right?
No, I was in my student teaching years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have thought you were watching that from your student seat.
Well, I guess I was in high school when they first came in. But I don't think my high school teachers will mind me saying this. They were critical observers of that trend and didn't hop on very quickly.
You didn't have any modeling.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's all that to say is I think this is a really unique space for us in education right now because we haven't seen this kind of hype around the potential for us in a long time. I pulled this image from Gartner just to show you each of these little pieces on this graph is something that has major impact in not only the space of artificial intelligence, but also in our world of education. You don't have to necessarily read each of the individual ones, but I will tell you that generative AI and the AI that in education, the one we're using most frequently and the one we're talking most about today, is at the very top of the peak of inflated expectations. My apologies. If you're not familiar with the hype cycle, it's basically this theory that all innovation services disciplines they follow a pattern, and the pattern begins with enthusiasm and probably over enthusiasm, and then from enthusiasm it moves into this idea of feelings of disillusionment. Eventually, we go into productivity. The Gartner Institute, who are the people that have studied this the most, are now able to kind of approximate how long it will take to get to the plateau of productivity when we're feeling comfortable with the tool. And they're saying that plateau of productivity with generative AI is 5 to 10 years out, which is a long time in the world of education. And for me, it makes me feel a little overwhelmed, that we have 5 more years of this kind of hard work of not really seeing a clear path or feeling super confident and comfortable in what we're doing. It's still a lot of the experimentation phase for a while now. And I think there are risks when we have a hype cycle, and when we have a hype cycle that is as sustained as the generative AI hype cycle is promising to be, is we might miss our compass a little bit. I think in times of really exciting innovation, like with what we're living in right now, it's really easy to get caught up in many feelings. So I'm curious, in your experience, how are educators feeling about AI coming? I love this picture of Mrs. Krabappel and all the phones, because she's just like, I'm trying to teach you long division, and you're all, playing Tetris on your phones. It is a BlackBerry. This is kind of an old screen grab from The Simpsons, but it is that feeling of like, okay, we got to shift gears here a little bit. So maybe educators are feeling overwhelmed with the choice they have. They could be a little bit wary of the uncertainty. They're excited by possibilities. That's where I'm living right now. I'm excited by what's to come. They might be flummoxed. I don't even know what side of the pool to dip my toe in. I know about a million different cool things I could do, but I don't know where to start or how to make it reasonable. I know Cami is probably very energized by how creative she can be with the tools that are available to her. I've talked to people this week about how skeptical they are of what's actually going to happen and if it's worth investing time and energy into this. On the logics team, we have a lot of talks about ethics and data privacy and data dignity. And we also have colleagues that are motivated to learn. So I'm curious out there, where are you at in the world? Cami, how are you feeling? Cami's flummoxed.
Well, I don't know that that's such a fun word that I had to type it. But I think that, yes, I think all of those, lots of those things, like, I'm excited, but I'm also like, there is so much out there. And I think, you've probably often heard that fire hose analogy being used when it comes to
Yes.
AI. In the session that we just did, Shannon was in there with me too. We talked about lots of brand new to AI educators. And so I'm excited that we have people that are coming out and coming to learn about AI. And I think that's where we have some people at all stages of the spectrum. And sometimes, Bailey and I have been deep in, like, we've been doing sessions together on AI for almost 2 years. So we've been deep into this for a while. But no, we have to know that there's lots of people that have been waiting, watching, just starting, maybe thinking they could wait it out. But all of that, yeah. Whitney
Yeah, totally.
says all of the above.
Yeah, which is perfect, Whitney, because I also have felt all of the above. And probably within this last week, even, I felt all of the above. And I just think about, I don't know if you all remember the experiment when you were learning about, oh, hi, Maureen. Nice to see you. When you were learning about uh, magnets and compasses. But when you hold a magnet close to a compass, it just kind of makes it a little bit wonky. And I just feel like that. Like I'm not really grounded in my practice. I'm not really grounded in where I'm heading, because I am feeling a lot of different emotions. I'm seeing a lot of different possibilities and questions. And that means that my way isn't exactly clear. And that's why I felt like today it was valuable to talk to you about wayfinding. We have people who are new to AI and just trying to get a feel, and we have people who are leading the AI experience. And I think this is important for people to think about from all walks of those. So yeah, my own experience with this hype curve is it's a little bit chaotic. This GIF isn't loading in my slide deck right now, but there's a paper airplane flying through this classroom, and it does feel like I'm losing that sense of groundedness in what I'm doing. And I have found, and this isn't frustrating for sure, for certain, but I have kind of taken a slapdash approach to how I'm folding AI into my practice. Which makes me very frustrated, because it means that growth isn't happening quickly. I still find myself sitting at my desk going, oh, I could probably use AI to do this, after I've been toiling away for 45 minutes, which is not helpful for me when I'm trying to feel like I'm a competent and capable educator. So that's where I'm sitting right now. And I'm wondering, how can we set our compasses back to our core beliefs, and how do we know when we found it? So I was really fortunate to learn from Dr. Sarah Eaton about a year ago. Dr. Eaton is a scholar on academic integrity and ethics at the U of C. She is absolutely leading the way in talking about ethic in AI in education right now. Her lens is obviously post-secondary, but I think it's really applicable to our work in education. And something she shared about AI and the path ahead a year ago is that education is a human endeavor. And what is human about education is a nexus point between our creativity, our empathy, and our critical thinking. And I think, oh, Whitney, I'm so jealous of you to have Dr. Eaton on your podcast. She's so amazing. And the way she talks about education being human and how there are a lot of things we need to shed from our systems that hinder that humanness. But it's also a lot of things we need to consider to advance our humanness in education. And her big message to us last year was that we have to be preemptive about what's yet to come. But in order to be preemptive, we have to ground ourselves in the ethic of education. Today, I want to talk about our individual ethic, but before I get into that, I do want to just encourage you that we're going to talk individual, but it's also really important that we have common ground and we do this together. But I believe we need to be grounded and competent, feeling competent in our own space before we can do good work together to advance that humanness in this space. Cami, what do you think so far? Do you have any questions about how I've set the stage here?
Well, no, I think I'm reflecting that I can, like I know my friend Bailey is working on her master's, and this is, you are being forced through your master's to think deeply about AI and about the ethics and some of those other things. And so um I that made me pause to think, for me, I haven't been, I'm going to say, forced or funneled into that space where I've had to think really deeply. And so for me, I've been maybe skimming the surface more and haven't taken those deep dives. And I didn't get to go to that time when Dr. Sarah Eaton was at Cass. And so I just have to get the slides from Bailey, which I appreciate. But I mean, Dr. Eaton is certainly, yes, a great resource.
And you're right. I'm really fortunate to be able to learn from people like Dr. Eaton right now. So I'm thankful for it. It is an overwhelming spot, though. What values guide your work in education? Is that a question you can answer easily? I couldn't. I have a few values that guide my work in education. So if you're on my slide deck, slide 17.
Really, could you actually I'll type it in, but I didn't get it fast enough to put in the chat.
Yeah, let me just grab that for you right now.
I'm sorry about that. I was trying to get it and I can't get the right bit.ly.
No problem. There it is right there.
Oh, I had a capital in the wrong spot. There we go. Thank you.
No problem. So slide 17 has a worksheet. And actually, I learned this worksheet when I was doing some work with my junior high students in their CTF career planning thing. And they were talking a lot about I really like sports, so I want to do a job in sports. And I want to be a hockey player because I love hockey. And I want to be a vet because I love dogs. And I've been there. I also wanted to be a vet because I love animals. But here I am in education teaching people. And so we did a lot of work with them on what their values are and what are the things that sustain them beyond the things that they like to do. So this is a really common procedure that I'm sure if you've been in any sort of like personal development, professional development around leadership. I'm sorry if the snow blowing is really loud, by the way, but it'll be done soon. If you've done work like this, it's a really common structure. So there's a list of probably about 100 core values, things like accomplishment, things like accountability, and I'm realizing I'm not sharing my correct screen. Here we go.
Thanks, Bailey. I was just gonna. I'm
There.
thinking. Oh, I think Bailey thinks we're seeing. Thank you. Oh, we got it. We got it.
Okay, so from your core values, or from these values, what are important to you? I know that community is one of my 10. I know that ideation is important. I love to think about the possibilities. I know that trust is important to me. I know that unity and togetherness is important to me. So in this process, you choose 10. So I'd encourage you right now to just take a read through this list and think about the 10 things that you would say. These are things. And if it helps, think about times when you felt satisfied, when you felt that feeling that you get like, yeah, this is right. What were the things that were being fed during those moments? I will mute and be quiet so you don't have a snowblower helping you this.
So to get to Bailey's great list, on the slide, you click on the blue box and you'll get the link pop up and you click there to get to that. Joy, yes.
Yes, Joy. Yes, I love that Joy is on that list. Yeah, if you want to share your reflections on something that's sticking out to you, thank you, Maureen and Winnie. Connection challenge, yes. I'm one of those people that's like, oh yeah, I should have that on my list too. So don't share too much with me or I'll steal all of your values and call them my own. All right, the next step in finding your values, your core values, is reducing that to 5. And I also like to take the next step of reducing it to 3 and circling the one that's most important to you. This is also a really fun task to do with students at the beginning and the end of the year because it changes. It changes for me too. My values are not malleable, but it depends a lot on the context of my world, what's important to me. Whitney, I think that you probably are an expert and you're just being too hard on yourself. We can be experts and still be works in process. So yes, we have that joy. I think for me, the core of it is my mind just went totally blank. The core of it is community. That's my thing. I want to be in community, in education. That's why I love doing stuff like this. Cami, do you have one in mind or one or two in mind that are important to you?
Well, that's a big list. One that does jump out to me a little bit is legacy. That's an interesting one. I'm a few years older than Bailey, and so when you're past the halfway mark in your career, let's just say that, then you start to look at, okay, what does that look like? What does that, as teachers, sometimes, especially as high school teachers, sometimes we never know, we never get a chance, and you might run into a kid down the road 10 years and say, oh, did you know? And I think, no, I didn't know that I impacted you that way. So that legacy, whether it's with our colleagues or our students, kind of framing what we do with that a little bit. I like teamwork.
Awesome. Thanks, Cami. We're trying to get the snowblower to be quieter, but it just might be 10 minutes of loudness. Thank you, Cami, for adding that. I think it's important to share
the
these.
snowblower is a little background hum. We can hear it, but it's
okay.
not like it's not. You're
okay,
good.
That's good. Thank you, Cami. It's always that you worry, right? You worry how loud it's coming through. Okay, so we have kind of our core, and obviously that's a really quick exercise. And of course, all of you are going to go home and journal about, well, you are at home. You're going to journal about your core values for a little while. But I'm curious now, how does the current landscape of AI align with your values? And how does it conflict conflict with your values. So if I take my core value of community, I've never felt, well, I shouldn't say never felt. I am feeling a profound sense of connection with my colleagues around AI, specifically my logics colleagues. But on days like today, I really do feel like there's a group of us tackling a big thing together and we're all on the same team. And that makes me feel really great. And it makes me feel like I'm in the right space. However, though, I do worry. I do worry that we're going to lose that sense of community if we get too divergent in the way we're approaching AI. There are hard conversations to be had. Cami and I have had some hard conversations about AI, and I don't worry about this with Cami, but I do worry that there might be divides coming in our profession because of AI. I think there's some potentials that um, yeah, there's some potential to create divide, I guess is what I will say. And that's not what I want. And that's, I think, when I think about, those like my compass just having all telling me north is every which way, I think the dichotomy between what's aligned and what's not aligned is making it complicated for me to find a path. Because it is challenging both sides of my values. It is making me feel excited, but also a little bit trepidatious, a little bit of trepidation. If we talk about joy, yeah, joy. There's excitement. Like we're innovating, we're learning, and those things. I have so much joy about those things, but I also worry about. Maybe losing that joy if we're removing the human aspect of education. Is it going to really change the way that we engage joyfully in education?
I think that's a, for me too, Bailey, like that, how do we keep that human part? The session I just did, we talked about the human in the loop, right? Keeping the human in the loop when it comes. I mean, that was when when you get an output or a prompt from your AI to make sure that you are at the end of the day, we as humans are, at this point at least, and this might be the scary part where it's changing, we're still responsible for those outputs. And there will come a tipping point where AI is so autonomous that we've even lost that. And that part scares me, right? How do we hold on to community within what might be coming?
Beautifully said. Hold on to community within what might be coming. That's great. If anybody wants to share their reflections on this in the chat, please do. I also know this is deeply personal stuff, so please don't feel pressured. But I would love to hear from you about what you're thinking about. The issue here, and I am going to be honest, I was in this weird dichotomous stage for a while about AI, and it was really complicated because I also needed to lead my colleagues somewhere. And I was just kind of doing it a little bit quietly and with not a lot of certainty, because I didn't have this solved, this alignment and conflict and all in the same moment. And maybe you're feeling the same way. Oh, Maureen brings up assessment. You read our mind. That's what Cami and I were talking about. But yeah, there's alignments with assessment practice and there's conflict with assessment practice. Cami, do you want to chime in there?
Well, yes, okay. I like Bailey and I have been language arts teachers, social studies teachers, and there's nobody who is facing this harder than us right now. And I still actively teach in our distance learning school. So there's no one that's facing, like, AI is slapping nobody in the face harder than high school humanities type teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes come out on a little bit controversial side. Lots of university scholars, and I wonder if Bailey's maybe more on this side because of her current scholarliness, are very much, ooh, we should not assess with AI. It should not be, that realm that's not right. It's not ethical. And I actually feel differently. I think Bailey and I are probably examples. We're both probably out of the classroom because marking essays sucked the joy out of our lives. Speaking of joy, and it wasn't sustainable. And because we cared to be good markers, good assessors, it just sucked the life out of us. Now, there's lots of arguments on the other side, but then I say, okay, what about colleagues who don't just don't bother, who put a percentage on a paper and give it back with no feedback, or
Mm-hmm.
take 2 months to give kids get the feedback on their essay the week before they're supposed to write their big provincial exam. That is, if that's the current model, we can do better. AI can do better. AI is
Yeah.
more consistent, more timely, more probably less biased to me, all those things. And so I don't know that it's even ethical to withhold that opportunity from our students to get that kind of
Mm-hmm.
feedback. So I know that's a controversial position, and not everybody agrees. And you know, Maureen, absolutely. Part of that is, as language arts humanities teachers, we absolutely need to rethink the assessment. That 5-paragraph essay that's been so sacred, that it can't be the gold
Yeah.
star or the end of the
Okay.
week anymore. It has to be, we have to move from that product into the process. I mean, all like, I
Yeah.
just did a whole session for Orange County Q last week, Bailey, about this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to
Okay.
cut you
I'm
off.
so glad you got it there. That was where I was hoping you were going to go. This is not planned, but this is beautiful. So I need to put a pin in that, in the writing in the 5-paragraph essay, because we're going to move into the planning. And you know, living here is fine for a little while, but my colleague Holly likes to say you have 5% of your time to be miserable and cranky and complain about it, and then you have 95% of your time to solve the problem. She says that to her teenagers all the time, and I love it. Sometimes she also says it to me. So here's our process. The process that I'd like to suggest might be helpful to you. The process that has been helpful for me. It's based on Bill Sharp's 3 Horizon framework. So Bill Sharp is a futurist academic. He is largely in the world of viable and sustainable futures. How do we get there? So this 3 Horizon framework is a way to have productive conversations about where we're going and what we need to shed. So I really love Maureen's point about moving forward in a good way, because that's what a 3 Horizon framework is. And yes, we have these things that we need to shed. And the 3 Horizon framework brings that into the conversation without having us dwell on it. So the 3 Horizon framework, you think about it as short-term, medium-term, long-term. There's a horizon here in this picture that we can't quite see yet, but we know that it's coming down this road, and we know that this road is leading to that horizon, right? So the 3 horizons are our opportunity to find the pockets of the present we want to maintain. What do we want to keep? What do we want to keep core in what we're doing? But then also, what is our preferred future? And how do we get there in this context of transformation and disruption? How do we become actual actors in our preferred future? I want you to keep in mind as we move forward here, this is not predictive. I am not predicting the path. I'm not encouraging you to predict the path, because I think that that is a dead end road if we're keeping with our horizons and road metaphor. This is aspirational. And I think it's important when we talk about being in this space of being pulled between things. I think it's important to have an aspiration of where we want to be to get out of that dichotomous state. So here is the 3 horizons. The first horizon is the red line. The axis, the y-axis here is how prevalent the impact is in our current world. I think that's the y-axis. I'm an English teacher, so we're going to continue on the up and down axis.
Why makes you fly? Why
Oh,
makes you
good,
fly?
perfect. So right now, the first horizon is very prevalent, but eventually, hopefully, we'll be able to lose parts of the influence of that horizon and move forward in a good way. What are the things that are worth conserving? And you can see that line kind of goes down. It's not completely gone. We're not leaving things behind 100%. There are things that worth conserving. So the language that Bill Sharp would use is what is dying and how can we help it to leave well? And absolutely echoes Maureen's comment about moving forward in a good way. The third horizon, actually, the teal line there, is our viable future. And you can see that there's the pockets there. It's not at a 0 on the y-axis. There are possibilities here. There are things happening that will lead us toward that viable future. And the language we can use there to help us think about that is what is being born and how can we help it to arrive well. And then finally, where the AI fits in for me, and I'd like to suggest today as we're thinking that the second horizon, the dark blue line, is AI. What is being disruptive and how can it be harnessed? If you want to get deeper into three horizons, there's harness and capture. Capture is the negative influencing. I don't want to talk about that today because I want to be joyful today. So let's talk about harnessing AI to achieve our viable future. So we're going to talk about kind of three different things. We're going to envision three different horizons. Cami, is this making sense to you so far? Cami's never seen this. She's going in blind. She's my
Yes. So
participant.
I'm just like, I'm processing. I'm processing like crazy. One of the things that, and maybe I hope I'm not jumping ahead, but when I think about harnessing that AI, I've heard lots of discussion around as we've been bringing in AI, and lots of us in this realm, we're leading that a little bit. And so I think, I can't remember if we've talked about this, Billy, but talking about how we didn't get cell phones right. Cell phones were disruptive, have been a disruptor, and they are continuing to disrupt. And so we're back and forth on that spectrum. But I've heard a lot of talk or reflection that, hey, we did not get the cell phone thing right with kids. Like we just we missed it. Like we didn't take the steps we needed to. It was right there, but we didn't address like all the things. And so as AI has been coming in along with cell phones, I'm going to say reignited bumpiness. I've been hearing lots of conversations about, okay, how can we fight? How can we dig in to get the AI in education conversation right? How can we avoid some of the things that we just didn't address? Like we didn't do the right things. We didn't address the right things with kids and cell phones as they were coming in. We missed it. We missed all that opportunity for digital citizenship and for digital responsibility conversations when we needed to have them. And now it's like, woo, the river's going down the stream and we can't catch up. So I've heard lots of discussion, and that blue line makes me think of that. Can we harness AI for education in a way that makes it viable going forward? And then on the other hand, I think harnessing AI, that sounds ridiculous. Who could ever do that?
Nobody could. No, Cami, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's an apt example for us in education that we're intimately familiar with how we got the phone thing wrong and the social media thing wrong for our students. So we can imagine in that instance, and this again, I won't dwell on this, but it is, I know that some of you will be interested in this. We can imagine that red line is up higher, that it has more prevalence in this instance where the business as usual was maintained, but it's not fitting our purpose anymore. So that's where we are with our three horizons. Thanks for sharing, Cami. I appreciated that.
So the 5-paragraph essay.
Oh my gosh, here we are back at my pin. Because I wanted to talk about this. I want to talk about the three horizon framework in the context of teaching writing. And I want to say to you all, Cami and I did not plan this. So here we are. This is top of mind. I'm a literacy coordinator for my division. I talk about writing almost every single day, how hard it is to teach writing. And I think about our business as usual. And I think about what it is that I want to die in a good way. I want it to die, and I want to keep what matters, but I want to leave it behind. And I think about the 5-paragraph essay, and I think about writing that is only a product for assessing how much kids know. I think about things that are overly structured and removed from any authentic audience and don't have student voice. I think about those things, and that's what I want to usher out. So then what do I want to be replaced with? I want it to be replaced with students who are incredibly engaged in the act of writing, not only for sharing their understanding, but for reflecting, for wondering, for being creative and passionate citizens. This is really pie in the sky, but it matters because this is my preferred future. I want our writers to have a purpose. I want them to feel like school writing fits that purpose. And I want them to find their voices as writers. And here we are in this age of disruption, innovation. AI comes in. So I think about harnessing. I think about using AI as a positive influence to drag that teal line up and keep that red line down. And I'm going to now get into the manageable steps, because right now this is like Bailey, I don't have my whole life to work on this. I'm right now, like, to be completely candid with you, I'm feeling this is very incremental change, and it's becoming a little bit disheartening for me. But I would suggest that if we take our vision, that if we use AI as a writing consultant rather than a plagiarism checker, rather than a feedback giver, rather than a copy paste my 5-paragraph essay about the influence of guilt in Macbeth and hand it in. If we use it as a consultant, that I think is harnessing the disruption to my preferred future, toward my preferred future. So then I think about, what are my actions toward harnessing AI as a writing consultant? And these are actions that I have done. And this is where I would suggest you, if you're feeling like, where do I even start? I think this is where we live. What are the actions I take to move forward here? If I want AI to act as a writing consultant to me and my students, first and foremost, I have to incorporate Chat GPT into my own writing practice, or some tool. Copilot, Gemini, whatever tool. I prefer Chat GPT right now. Maybe I'll prefer another soon. And I'm doing that work. I write a lot. I'm a journaler. I don't want to beat the horse. I'm trying so hard to finish my master's on time, so I'm writing a lot for that. So I'm using Chat GPT often as a consultant in my own writing, so I get a feel for how it works. I'm also know that I need to teach students how to use AI to develop their thinking, to not think for them. And that's a big job too. And that's one that maybe I'll have to make another dot of more actions toward. But that's where I'm starting right now, is how do I teach students to use AI as a consultant rather than as a replacement for their thinking? I also, if we're talking nitty gritty, I need to have a process for students to follow. When do you go to ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot as a consultant in the writing process? How do you use it as a brainstorming tool? And how does that look different when you're in the revision phase of your writing? What do my students need to know about those? Maybe there's a list of questions I can give them. Maybe there's prompts I can equip them with and teach them with. I also, knowing what I know about community being one of my core values, I want to do this with my kids. I want to see how they're doing with it. Go ahead, Cami.
Well, I was going to say, Bailey, it sounds like we have a project here that we need to start building, because that's it. Like, I know that we need to move from product to process. I know that we need to help our kids learn how to use AI, not as prompt and paste and submit, but in that consultant phase. And
Yes.
I think that's where the work right now, where that work is. We need to have people like us that are helping to make some scaffolds and some models and to help build that out. So
yes. Yeah. And I want to be really clear here. I think part of that, like that overwhelmed feeling, I hope for teachers is kind of quelled when you're looking at this. It's like, oh, I don't need to know everything about it. I just need to know how it fits for me and how it fits for the kids in front of me. I also know that a big part of my work when I lead literacy work in my division is writing tasks that encourage individuality and voice. And that, when we talk about being in it together, we're never going to change that without working together on it. And then I also need to experiment with prompts that help the AI give me the kind of feedback I want my students to receive. So there are my actions. So I've gone from this place, I'm like, oh, I'm living in a world where I need to change the way we write in schools, and AI is coming along and it's going to make the kids hand in these copy pastes that I can still see the way the text is highlighted. Like, they didn't even change the text formatting, for goodness sakes. And I don't know where to go. My compass is spinning. I know I want them to go here, but I have hesitations. I've thought about, like, okay, well, what's my preferred future, and how can I harness AI for that? And then I've distilled it into actions. And hopefully I can look at these actions and go, okay, one step at a time down this road, I can get somewhere here. I'm curious, and let me know in the chat if you're following me, if you're feeling that way. I have another example for you. In the context of parent involvement, we're talking a lot about homework in our division right now. Homework is in our business as usual phase. Business as usual is, and this is maybe a bit extreme, but I think using extreme language is important in this thought. Homework is isolating and it's frustrating. Students aren't engaged with an adult that knows usually when kids are doing homework, their teacher isn't beside them, unless like in our small schools, their teacher is their mom. But my preferred future, and this is a conversation I have with my colleague Holly, we share an office often. Her daughter's in grade 11, doing homework, super diligent, very smart kid, really believes in the value of homework, is feeling isolated and frustrated. So what is it that we want for that child? What do we want for Holly and her family? We want that homework experience to be about curiosity and fostering that love of learning and igniting that fire for them. So where does AI come in as a disruptor in this world? Because if we didn't have this preferred future of, homework being a curiosity incubator, then we could just have the kids complete the copy paste into their homework into AI and then copy down what it says. And we know that that's happening in some cases, right? So a preferred future is where homework becomes an extension. How are families bringing in their child's learning into their own context? And how are they developing that creativity together? So how do we harness AI as a wise assistant in that process, as a tutor, maybe? So then some actions toward that is I would need my students to know about process questions. I would need them to know that I don't want them to put in, what is the what is the symbolism of the color red in the glass roses, which is actually a Holly homework question that she texted me a little while ago. So I would need my students to understand the process of getting to where I want them to get on their homework. I also have work to do in educating parents on the value of collaborating with AI, not just relying on it, but collaborating with it. And again, we talk about community. That's work that I have to do as a leader in this. I also need to do some work in identifying some tools that parents and students can use without a lot of learning curve. I need to do the work of creating challenging and authentic homework tasks. I don't think I can send home a list of 15 questions anymore. That's just not going to get where I want them to go if my preferred future is homework that drives curiosity. I also need to do some work here on when AI is wrong and how I find out about when it's wrong, and the process I have to follow as a thinker when I wonder if AI's answer is exactly right. Holly has an awesome story she tells about her daughter. They were doing chemistry homework, and her daughter got the answer and said, and they were doing the checking. Mom, can you check this? I think I have the answer. Can you check it? And that's how they were using AI as a wise tutor, as a wise assistant. And the AI shot out this answer. And Holly's daughter said, no, I'm certain that I'm right. And Holly said, okay, well, I'll ask it. Do you think you might be wrong? Can you troubleshoot? Maybe you're wrong in a spot. And it said, no, I'm right. I know that my math's right. And Holly's daughter said, no, I know it's wrong. Like, check my math, Mom. I know I'm right. So they went through and they're like, oh, okay, well, this step is different. So they asked the AI to say, what steps did you follow? Oh, this is where the step is different. What do you think you did differently than me in this step? And then the AI recognized, oh, I actually did something wrong. I'm not a chemistry guy, so I can't tell you what it was wrong. But they did have a really fruitful conversation about, this grade 11 student being right and knowing that she was right, but how she uses AI toward that.
And those are the kinds of experiences that we need to talk about, we need to model, we need to tell, both for teachers and for students, about the importance of the pushback of the fighting with the AI. No, I am the boss. I am the human. Check. No, keep going. Like, we need to model that that's okay, and not just okay, that that's what we need to do.
Yes.
And
totally.
I think lots of people are afraid to do that, or they don't realize, I think not afraid, they don't realize that they can. They just think, oh, well, the AI said, right? But we have to teach about AI and that it hallucinates, it's fallible, it's going to be wrong often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in literature, like probably that's where I find the most errors of anything, is when you ask it to produce a five paragraph essay on a less obscure novel or a less obscure topic. It's haywire often.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Okay, I thought maybe, Cami, we could talk about how we might harness AI as a disruptor in the context of reporting on learning. So we know the business as usual reporting is an infrequent one-way event. And my preferred future, and I believe your preferred future, Cami, is reporting that's ongoing and collaborative and
Mhm.
puts the child at the center of it. So how would you frame AI as a harnessing tool there? And this is one I shared specifically because I'm still grappling with this. I don't know where we go with this.
Well, I kind of went on a little rant earlier and talked about how, like, I mean, I work with colleagues who essentially high school language arts teachers who don't give much valuable feedback on an essay. And so how do kids are just writing the same thing over and over. They're getting reps, but they could be repping the wrong thing entirely. And so I think that we AI, that's its strength. Its strength is individualization, personalization. In 10 minutes, I can now have specific quality um, feedback on an introductory paragraph or a stage in a writing process that I could never generate myself that quickly. And
Yes.
so now that's where we have to teach our kids A, how to get that, and then B, how to take that and realize that this is the bar, like this is the weightlifting, this is the barbells, right? Like um kids know that they can just prompt and paste and get a thing. Part of the difficulty in all of this is to say, ooh, just a second. There is a lot of value in doing the reps, in like that part of, we have to teach kids that the reps are important, that without the reps, you end up as an empty vessel. And so that part,
So if we said that we were going to try to harness AI as a personalized feedback for support for ongoing practice for students.
yes,
Yep.
I think that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
That is what you're saying. So now, if we move on to my actions toward that, I'll just copy and paste this. And I did leave blank slides in my slide deck in case you wanted to do this with a colleague
Ooh,
or even
nice.
just by yourself. So the last couple slides in my slide deck are this. Personalized feedback support for ongoing practice. What are some actions we take toward that?
And we'd love your comments in the chat, your suggestions. We'll add them in there. I don't know. One of the ways that I've been using or and helping some of my teachers use is taking a tool like a student facing tool like School AI or MagicSchool, where right now they don't have to put a login. They join with a code, and providing them with what it feels like to be in a feedback cycle with an AI thought bot.
I
And
love
so
that.
having them, and I can make it. I can make the thought bot. I can have them join my thought bot that will take them through what that looks like, and not where it's another, maybe this is different, maybe this is the same, not where it gives me the answer, but it leads me to how to improve. Like, not like this is what you need, but how do I improve to get to a better output? So yes, incremental, absolutely.
Yeah. That's a mindset that we need to develop, right? Oh, Maureen, I'm happy to hear that. I also think about how my own view toward reporting student learning shifts. So I have to think about incorporating. Incorporating is a very hard word for me to spell. Incorporating process into my reporting and assessment.
Yes, and the some teachers have pushed back with me and they say, "Well, that takes more time and I have to do it again." Well, yeah, yes, but that is the new normal. And so
Yes.
and so let's use AI to make that easier for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a 1 point rubric along those spots.
Mm-hmm.
But that process, that's where we have to, in a world where you can prompt and paste and get a 5 paragraph essay with zero muscle building, that
Yep.
the steps become the thing, right? It used
Yep.
to be the essay at the end. I think the scaffolding, that here's the
Yeah.
brainstorm, here's the outline, here's like the steps become the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Marine
Yep.
says conversations, observations, and
Yes.
process.
Exactly. Exactly. I think I also an action I see here is I need clarity on goals for my students writers,
Tell us
which is
more.
well, it's another big thing, right? My students need to understand what is the first step we're taking to get towards being, um, really proficient logics thinkers in math. What are we working on right now? We're working on predicting when we read the giver. So I need to ask feedback on my prediction skills, not about how am I understanding this, right? So we need to support our students in having that clarity with what exactly it is they're learning.
Well, and I love Whitney's suggestion, right? Like, and I think this is where Bailey and I are talking about going, like, that product at the end, that can become worth so we can diminish its value or its points or whatever that looks like. And the process becomes the thing, whether we're looking at, triangulation or Marie or Whitney talked about the triangle has changed. I think that's the direction, at least for now, right?
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. I hope that was helpful for you to think through it with Cami and I. Cami, I really appreciate you jumping in with your thinking there. Like I said, the last couple slides are blank for you to do as a thought process here, if you like. I thought maybe I could leave some potential stops for you. So if you're interested in the 3 Horizon framework, the last half of this book that was just recently published is all about the 3 horizons. And how people in education right now are using the 3 horizons as a futures thinking tool. The Promise of Access is next. When I'm finished all my other readings, I am going to read this. I read the foreword, and I think the Promise of Access is just really important when we're talking about preferred futures and where we're going. And The Coming Wave is absolutely a seminal text. And coincidentally, Mustafa Suleyman was a lead on Microsoft IS project. So it fits nicely into our work today. 3 really high quality reads if you're interested in looking more into that. And I'm curious if you have any parting thoughts. While you're sharing your parting thoughts, please give us some feedback. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. This is the first time I've delivered this session in this format, so I'm curious to hear how you thought it went. And if you have questions for me, I'd love to receive those questions. Cami, I'll pass it over to you to wrap up.
All right. So Bailey, I loved this. It was like, do you know what this felt like? A fireside chat with friends. Right. And so we slowed down, we thought, we went into that realm. We slowed down to do the deep thinking, and so it wasn't just look at this prompt, look at this prompt, look at this, like, kind of the session that I just did and I'm going to do. I love just to sit and think and talk. And, for those of us that are like, here we are, what's next? I love that. I love the blank slides to move forward. All of that. Friends, we would love if you gave us some feedback. So there is a feedback link there for our session today. This is the first time at Logix that first time in a long time that we've done a little mini summit like this. And this whole summit is about AI. And so we have not, as a Logix team, done that before, and it's been fun. So how has that been? We would love your feedback on that process.
Awesome. Thank you all I appreciate you being in the chat as well. So thank you for your feedback there, and thank you for your time today. Thank you, Cami.
Excellent. Well, yeah, so, thanks for sharing your last takeaways. We appreciate that. Lots to think about, those frameworks, mind pushing. So we appreciate you sharing your academic thoughtfulness with us, Bailey. For sure. Okay, well, I think with that, we are going to wrap up, give you an extra 2 minutes to grab a coffee, grab a drink, grab some lunch if you're on Eastern time zone before. Hopefully you'll join us for the next session. Little personal plug, the next session I'm doing is one called About AI, and it's the things that teachers need to know about AI so that they can help their students learn about AI so that we can get to that process piece. So that's coming up for me. Bailey, are you helping out in a session next?
I'm going to be observing the panel. I'm really excited.
Oh, are you okay? Yeah, you're heading over to the panel, so that'll be a good one as well. All right. Yeah. Thank you, friends, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your learning this morning with Logix and AI.
Take care, everybody.